Welcome to Silent Truth Stories. I'm Maya, and today, I bring you a true tale from the wild. A legendary hunt, a terrifying predator, and a story that has echoed through the forests of India for generations. This is not just a story of survival, it's a story of courage, of mystery, and of a hunter who risked everything. Stay with me as we uncover the legend of Kenneth Anderson and the Striped Terror of Gummalapur.
The village of Gummalapur trembled under a deadly shadow. It began with the screams of a woodcutter torn from his path by a striped blur. Days later, a farmer vanished, his footprints ending at the edge of the jungle. Whispers filled the village the Manita had returned. But this tiger wasn't just any predator. It killed in broad daylight, unafraid of men or weapons. As fear spread, families fled their homes, and the village called for the only man they trusted. His name was Kenneth Anderson. Kenneth Anderson stood at the edge of the jungle, armed and resolute, knowing he had to confront the terror that haunted Gummalapur. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with deep reds and oranges as he prepared himself for the hunt. Inside the jungle, the air was thick with tension, and the faint rustle of leaves hinted at the predator lurking just beyond sight. Kenneth felt the weight of fear from the villagers resting heavily on his shoulders, but his resolve only hardened. This time, he would not let the tiger claim more lives. Kenneth Anderson arrived in Gummalapur just after dawn. The village was nearly deserted, doors bolted, windows dark. Only the village headman greeted him, voice shaking. "Sahib, it takes people in daylight. It's no ordinary tiger." Kenneth examined the ground near the last attack, noticing deep pug marks larger than any he'd seen leading into the thick forest. That night, as the moon rose, Kenneth set up camp at the jungle's edge, his rifle lying ready. The hunt had begun, but this Manita was waiting. As night enveloped Gummalapur, the jungle breathed with an eerie quiet. Shadows danced in the moonlight. Treetops whispered secrets, and Kenneth's heart raced with anticipation. Every rustle sent chills down his spine, reminding him of the beast that prowled nearby. Then in the depths of the forest, he caught a glimpse. A massive tiger, its eyes gleaming like twin lanterns, observing him from the shadows, calculating its next move. Kenneth spent the first night watching the jungle's edge senses sharp. Hours passed, but the tiger never came. At dawn, he followed fresh tracks through the underbrush. They circled the village bold and unafraid. Midday, he found a chilling sign, a shredded sandal and broken bangles near a well. Another victim. Kenneth's jaw tightened. This tiger wasn't just a hunter, it was a shadow stalking the villagers' every step. As dusk fell, Kenneth positioned himself in a tree overlooking the main trail. Tonight, he knew the beast would return. The air thickened with tension as Kenneth's heart raced. The twilight deepened and he strained his ears for any sound. Suddenly, a rustle in the bushes sent shivers down his spine. He held his breath, bracing himself. A moment later, there it was. The tiger, majestic yet terrifying, gliding through the darkness. Kenneth's grip tightened on his bow, every instinct telling him this was the moment he had prepared for. The hunter had become the hunted. The night was heavy with silence. Kenneth waited in the tree rifle, steady eyes fixed on the jungle trail below. Hours dragged by. Then, a rustle. A shape moved between the trees. Kenneth held his breath. Suddenly, two glowing eyes locked onto his. The tiger. Massive, scarred and silent, it stepped into the clearing. Kenneth aimed carefully. But before he could fire, the beast let out a low growl and vanished into the darkness. Kenneth exhaled slowly. This was no ordinary hunt. This was a battle of patience and wit. Kenneth's heart raced, knowing every sound could signal the return of the creature. He scanned the ground beneath him, searching for any sign of the cunning predator. The jungle was alive with sounds, but all he heard was the pounding of his own heartbeat. He had trained for this moment, yet anticipation clawed at him. Patience was his only ally, but the thrill of the hunt electrified the night air. The next evening, Kenneth set a baited trap near the jungle edge, a tethered goat under a large banyan tree. He hid nearby, rifle ready, waiting. Hours passed under the moonlight. Suddenly, the goat let out a terrified bleat. Kenneth raised his rifle, But before he could react, a massive shadow lunged from behind. The tiger had circled him. With a roar, it swiped claws, tearing the ground as Kenneth rolled aside, firing blindly. The tiger vanished into the trees, leaving only silence. Heart pounding, Kenneth realized he'd survived, but just barely. Shaking with adrenaline, Kenneth knew he couldn't stay here any longer. The jungle felt alive and hostile. He slowly rose to his feet, retracing his steps back through the underbrush, every sound making his heart race. A rustle in the leaves caught his attention, and he turned swiftly, expecting the worst. But it was only a small monkey staring curiously before dashing away into the trees. Kenneth's mind raced with thoughts of strategy. He needed to outsmart the predator that had come so close to ending his life. At dawn, Kenneth followed the signs. Deep paw prints, broken shrubs, faint blood trails. The tiger was wounded, but far from finished. Moving carefully through dense thickets and rocky slopes, every sense alert, he discovered an eerie sight. An old shrine, its walls clawed and marked. Villagers whispered that the tiger had made this its den. Kenneth paused, studying the ground. Fresh tracks. The beast was close. Tonight he knew would be the real test. Hunter and hunted face to face at last. As the sun set, Kenneth geared up the fading light, casting long shadows that heightened his anticipation. He could feel the air thickening with unspoken tension. In the distance, the injured tiger lurked, its eyes glowing like embers in the darkness. Each breath from both hunter and hunted echoed in the silence, the forest alive with suspense. This was no ordinary hunt. It was a battle of wits and survival. The night was about to unfold, revealing the primal instinct of man versus beast. As night fell, Kenneth positioned himself near the old shrine rifle in hand, breath steady. The jungle was unnaturally quiet, and suddenly a low growl echoed from the shadows. Two amber eyes appeared unblinking just meters away. Kenneth's finger hovered over the trigger as the tiger crept forward, muscles coiled. For a heartbeat, predator and hunter locked eyes. Then, a sudden snap of a branch behind him. Kenneth spun instinctively, but when he turned back, the tiger was gone, melting into the darkness once again. This battle was far from over. Panic surged through Kenneth's veins as he moved cautiously, every sound amplified in the stillness of the night. The weight of the jungle pressed down on him, and the air was thick with tension. Each rustle in the leaves felt like a warning, urging him to be vigilant. He could almost feel the tiger's breath on his neck, its presence lingering like a shadow. Suddenly, a faint growl resonated again, closer this time, challenging his very will to remain still. Kenneth steeled himself, realizing that he was not just hunting anymore. He was being hunted. At first light, Kenneth followed the tiger's trail deeper into the jungle. Hours later, he found it. A hidden cave near the rocky cliffs, scattered with bones and old scars on the entrance walls. This was it, the Striped Terror's final lair. Kenneth crouched low, examining the ground. Fresh tracks led inside. He steadied his rifle, heart pounding. The cave was dark, the air heavy with the smell of death. One thing was clear. Tonight, only one of them would leave this place alive. Kenneth took a deep breath, slowly advancing into the cave, his flashlight cutting through the oppressive darkness. The walls whispered secrets of past encounters, and each footstep echoed like a countdown to an inevitable clash. Suddenly, two fierce eyes emerged from the shadows, locking onto him with an intensity that froze his heart. This was no ordinary predator. It was the embodiment of nature's raw power, a creature that had evaded countless hunters before him. With every heartbeat, he realized this was more than a hunt. It was a battle for survival. Night fell over the jungle as Kenneth waited near the cave's entrance rifle, aimed breath tight. Hours slipped by. Then, a flicker of movement. The tiger emerged massive and scarred, its eyes locked on Kenneth. With a deep growl, it charged. Kenneth stood his ground, waiting for the perfect moment. As the beast lunged, jaws wide, Kenneth fired. Once, twice. The shots echoed across the cliffs. The tiger collapsed just meters away, its reign of terror finally ended. Kenneth exhaled, heart racing. The Striped Terror of Gummalapur was no more. As silence enveloped the jungle, Kenneth's heart raced with mixed emotions. Triumph for ending the threat, but sorrow for the life taken. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. This was not just about survival. It was a reminder of the delicate balance of nature. With each breath, he felt the night closing in shadows lurking around him. The jungle would remember this moment, as would Kenneth.
Thank you for listening to Silent Truth Stories. If this story gave you chills, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more true legends and mysteries. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know what you think. Until next time, stay curious. And keep listening to Silent Truth Stories.
We talk about the weather, the news, even death, but we rarely talk about what it means to truly feel alive in our own bodies. Desire doesn't retire at 60. The body doesn't stop craving touch, warmth, or intimacy just because the candles on your cake now number 75. Hello, I'm Clara Jameson. I'm 75 years old and I've lived long enough to know this truth. We all need love, and not just the spiritual kind. We need comfort. We need closeness. We need to be seen, touched, understood. Whether you're 25 or 85, the hunger to be held never fully fades. And no, it's not just about sex. It's about connection, about feeling like you still matter, like your body isn't invisible, like your story is still being written. There were years I silenced those needs. I called them shame. I buried them under duty. I wore motherhood like armor and kept desire locked away. But age taught me something powerful, that the body is not a burden. It is the last place where we still feel life happening. And if you're watching this, wondering whether it's okay to want, to ache, to dream, to feel again, then let me be the first to say, you're not broken, you're still becoming. This is not the end of your story. This may be the chapter where you finally tell the truth to yourself. With age, our skin becomes thinner, but strangely more alive. A faint breeze feels different. A light brush against the shoulder or even the chest can awaken sensations you thought were long gone. I'll say something most people won't. A soft touch near the breast, even a graze near the nipple, can still stir something real, even after 70. And that's not shameful. That's beautiful. It means you're still here, still human, still worthy of pleasure. See, they never told us that intimacy would evolve, that after the noise of youth fades, what's left is not less. It's more, slower, softer, but deeper. And that includes sex, but not the kind in movies, not the rushed, loud, performative kind. I'm talking about intimacy that's rooted in breath, in trust, in safety. Sometimes what the body needs most isn't climax. It's connection, the kind that says you are seen, you are safe here, you're still wanted. I used to think that chapter of my life was over, but the truth is it was only paused, waiting for me to unlearn the silence. Yeah, if you're listening to this and nodding quietly, maybe this is your moment too, to feel embarrassed when my body stirred, as if desire had an expiration date and mine had passed decades ago. But one morning in my late 60s, I looked at myself, really looked, and whispered, I still want to be touched, and I still deserve to be touched. That whisper turned into courage. I bought new clothes. I lit candles just for myself. I watched romantic films again without shame. And one day I let someone in, not just into my home, but into my silence. We didn't rush. We didn't pretend. We explored the map of aged skin and found meaning in every line, every scar. What I learned is this: sex is not dirty. It's not vulgar. It's sacred when it's shared, not performed. I don't sell shame, I sell honesty. And I want every woman watching this at any age to know your sensuality isn't behind you. It's waiting, quiet, patient, alive. And it doesn't begin with someone else. It begins with permission from yourself. Loneliness isn't just about being alone. It's about being unseen, even when you're in a room full of people. I've sat across dinner tables and smiled politely while my heart whispered, "Does anyone still notice me?" In our culture, we celebrate youth as if it's the only chapter worth reading. And when the skin sags, the hair grays, and the pace slows, the world assumes we've stopped wanting, stopped living, stopped mattering. But inside me, inside you, there's still a spark. I found mine again when I stopped chasing who I used to be and started embracing who I've become. I take walks alone now, not because I'm lonely, but because I've learned to enjoy my own company. I speak up when something stirs me. I dress not to be admired, but to feel present in my own body. I learned that confidence isn't about beauty. It's about being okay with your scars, your history, your softness. My husband says I've changed. I smile and tell him, "No, love, I just came back."
They say the body fades with time, but I've come to believe it ripens. In my younger years, I rushed through life, through sex, through love, through healing. I mistook speed for passion and silence for peace. But now I light candles, not for a man, but for me. I massage oil into my own skin with reverence, not urgency. I've learned to be intimate with myself, to run a bath, to slow dance alone in the living room, to feel music in my hips and joy in my belly. And yes, even to pleasure myself, not with shame, but with honor, because this body has carried grief, birth, children, held others through storms. It deserves tenderness from others and from me. If you're lucky enough to love someone who shares your days, rediscover each other gently, ask new questions, explore new touches. There is still time for wonder. And if you're walking alone, know this: you are not less, you are not behind, you are becoming. I didn't think I'd feel this alive at 75, but here I am, open, aware, and deeply human. So take a breath with me. Let go of shame. Let go of shoulds. Light the candle. Feel your skin. Whisper your name like a blessing. Because this is not the end of the story. This is the chapter where you come home. If I could sit across from the woman I once was, I wouldn't scold her. I wouldn't fix her. I'd hold her hand and simply say, "You did your best with what you knew." But let me tell you what I know now. To the mother who forgot herself in the process of raising everyone else. To the wife who mistook silence for strength. And to the woman in the mirror who spent decades apologizing for simply existing. This isn't a message from a perfect life. It's a letter from the future, from someone who's lived through storms and still believes in sunlight. So, if you're listening now, maybe it's time you heard these words. I spent years thinking love was something you had to qualify for, like a prize you win if you're quite enough, kind enough, small enough. I thought if I kept giving time, patience, forgiveness, even my dreams, eventually someone would give it all back. But love doesn't work like that. Real love doesn't ask you to disappear so someone else can feel big. If I could go back, I'd tell her, "You're not hard to love. You were just trying to bloom in the wrong soil." Love is not earned, it's recognized, nourished, grown, and the kind of love that demands your silence isn't love. I used to think staying quiet made me strong, that biting my tongue was grace, that hiding my hurt was maturity. 'Cause every time I swallowed pain, I fed the silence, and silence is not noble, it's corrosive. Mobad, small. One apology you never asked for. One tear you wipe away too quickly. One boundary you never speak aloud. Over time, that silence becomes a habit and then a cage. I could go back. I tell her, "Speak up, even if your voice shakes. Tell them it hurt. Tell them you're tired. Tell them you deserve more." Because strength isn't silence. Strength is truth, spoken with love and claimed without guilt.
Every love story is made of fireworks. Mine was made of quiet cups of coffee, slow dances in the kitchen, and long drives with no destination. My husband wasn't a man of many words, but he showed me love in every small thing, fixing the porch light before I noticed it was broken, warming my side of the bed on cold nights, laughing at the same old jokes like they were brand new. The world celebrates grand gestures, but real love, the kind that lasts decades, is built in the soft spaces between ordinary days. We had our storms, angry silences, tired evenings, years where we nearly forgot how to reach for each other. But we always came back, because beneath the noise of life, we still heard each other's heartbeat. If I could go back, I'd remind her, don't wait for perfect moments. Treasure the imperfect ones you already have. Sometimes the best years don't look grand. They feel like home. That biting my tongue was grace. That hiding my hurt was maturity. But every time I swallowed pain, I fed the silence. And silence is not noble, it's corrosive. Over time, that silence becomes a habit, and then a cage. If I could go back, I'd tell her, speak up, even if your voice shakes. Tell them it hurt. Tell them you're tired. Tell them you deserve more. Because strength isn't silence. Strength is truth, spoken with love and claimed without guilt.
Used to believe there was a deadline for happiness, that joy belonged to the young and regret was the tax we paid with age. But now I know it's never too late to begin again. Not at 40, not at 70, not even today. You can still fall in love with your own story. You can still rediscover parts of yourself that you tucked away decades ago. Your dreams may be older now, but they are not obsolete. Hostility, tavarin, you are still becoming. And if no one else has told you today, let me say this clearly.
You are not invisible. You are not forgotten. You are not finished. This is not your epilogue. This is your next chapter. With love, Clara.